Welcome to Force Edu, a place where all business and supply chain enthusiasts come for a weekly dose of knowledge. If you have not yet subscribed to our channel, you are missing out on value adding content.
Today, let's discuss what has caused the increase in transportation costs and numerous factors that influence the oil supply chain. Before we begin, here is a brief on different transportation methods used to supply oil. Let's begin with the first method of transportation, that is, the pipelines, also known to be the pillars of the fuel transportation system. They perform the majority of the work. When compared to other countries, the United States has a pipeline network of almost 200,000 miles. However, we don't see pipelines often. They are mostly buried underground. Apart from a rare sighting of a shut-off valve above the ground or just a sign that warns against digging, we are unaware of their existence. We can remember this as an undercover transportation method. National Transportation and Safety Board say pipelines are, to date, the safest way to carry oil and natural gas. Next, we have transportation through ships and trucks. Shipping through marine vessels is the next most cost-effective way of transport, domestically and internationally. Large tankers can hold up to 2 million barrels of crude oil in one go. But crude oil is known to be dirty cargo because when it spills into seas and oceans, it pollutes the water bodies and harms the aquatic life. That is why we have another option of truck transportation. Unlike pipelines or trains, trucks can load and unload products at multiple sites. Each truck transports the material in small batches, resulting in fewer leaks and accidents. But there exist some disadvantages associated with it, like trucks being less efficient and less cost effective. Also, the amount of crude oil on an average that a truck can transport is between 200 and 250 barrels only in one trip. Trucks can therefore be used as a mode of transportation, but specific contracts must be followed. Unplanned disruptions in the oil supply led to recession, whereas a drop in oil price causes the economy to blossom. Now, let's talk about the legalities involved in the oil industry supply chain. There are mainly two types of legal regimes used in the oil and gas industries. The first one is concession systems. The corporation that holds the concession has complete control over the extraction process in a concessional system. It acquires legal ownership of all resources it generates. The second one is called contractual agreements. These consist mainly of a production sharing contract. It is where the host governments have full control and legal access over resources until they are produced. Technically, it is possible to achieve such control levels and fiscal outcomes with the help of either of the two legal systems. However, the difference lies in the legal approach and roles associated with the central government where an NOC may be needed. Here, we may use a third type of legal binding called the Technical Service Agreement. Here, the contractor is paid a fee by the government to develop and produce oil and gas. The contractor gets benefits from production of oil sales. This is done after a royalty is paid to the host government so that it recovers its capital and operational expenditures. This is known as cost oil. The remaining share of the money is known as profit oil and is split between the government and the contractor. And this is how, in brief, oil transportation and legalities work. While we bid adieu, could you name which country is the largest consumer of oil? Let us know in the comment section below.
Thank you for watching the video. To know more about the oil and gas supply chain, stay tuned to our channel Force Edu and watch out for our next video.